It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state. And there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nick Horton. You can find Nick's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
And good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome back to First News here on the 10th of December. It is just about 19 minutes in front of 7 o'clock, and that does mean that it's time for Nick Horton, the founder and CEO of Opportunity Arkansas, to join us. And Nick, good morning to you. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, it's great to be with you as always. How are you, sir?
Very good, very good. We always appreciate you joining us.
A little chilly out there.
Yeah, boy, I'm telling you what. I like it. I personally like the cold weather. Are you a cold weather guy? Do you like the cold weather?
I do. As I've gotten older, I've gotten more and more hot-natured,
Yes.
So I like this cold.
Very good.
I'm always hot, so I like this. It's refreshing.
Yes. No, I'm not opposed to sleep with a little crack in the window right now. But
That's right. That's right.
A lot of times when you're married, though, Nick, you can't do that. You get yelled at for things like that. But
it's a source of contention.
That's right.
It's an ongoing debate in the Horton household, but
Yes.
we're figuring it out.
Yeah. So luckily, my dog doesn't say anything about it, so that's a good thing. So so Nick, starting with, I want to go back a little update to last week's conversation. We were talking about the EFA funds and the item in regards to spending EFA money on team sports, which is in front of the Department of Education, the State Department of Education right now. We're in the public comment window. And so, one, do we get any stats or any updates on, are they getting a lot of feedback? Are they getting a lot of public comment? And then two, can we also talk a little bit about how do you make the public comment? Where do we go to make a public comment? Do we do it in person? Can we do it online? How do we make a public comment to the Department of Education?
This is so important, and I appreciate the chance to talk about this. I know we've been hitting this a lot lately, but it really is one of the most important things happening in the state right now. So as a reminder for folks, this anti-education freedom, anti-family rule that's being proposed by the Department of Education, there's one big takeaway, and I'll try to be succinct on this, but there's one big problem with this rule, and there's a couple of reasons that it's problematic, but there's one big bad policy change that's being proposed, which is, as you alluded to, Toby, that the education freedom funds would not be allowed to be used for team sports-related activities and expenses, as they have always been. We're in year 3 of the Education Freedom Program. This has always been allowed. There was a legislative debate in the legislative session. There was almost 100-day legislative session where this could have been proposed. There was a bill that made changes to the EFA program, and this was specifically not included in that. And now, 6 months later, while people are not paying as much attention, the administrative state, the Department of Education, is coming in and trying to do this through fiat. And they're following the appropriate process, but in our view, they are dramatically exceeding their legislative authority. The legislature and the Original Learns Act do not speak to this issue at all. And again, this has always been allowed. So if you're a homeschool family and you've got remaining education freedom funds that you want to use to pay for uniforms or equipment, you're not going to be able to do that under this proposed rule. If you go to a private school and you need help paying for cleats or uniforms or other types of team-related fees, you're not going to be able to use your education freedom funds for that. That is not consistent with the spirit of education freedom. It's a dramatic step backwards. It's a dramatic step on these families, and it's not family-friendly towards the people that this program is supposed to serve. Maybe there's some sort of great justification for this, which I've yet to hear. But even if there's some sort of, well, we're concerned or, well, we're foreseeing that this could happen, at the end of the day, the standard has to be and should be, and we're going to continue at Opportunity Arkansas to push for this, to make sure that this is the standard, what's best for the families that are in the program, what's best for them. So to answer your question, public comment is still going. It ends next week, so there's about 6 days left. We don't have a great sense of how many public comments are coming in, but certainly I've heard from tons of education freedom families, legislators, folks all across the state that are very concerned about this. And it is really important that the department and the Board of Education at the state level hear from Arkansans that are concerned. There's an email address where those comments can be sent. It's very long and clunky. I would just encourage people, go to our Twitter account, our Instagram account, our Facebook account, search Opportunity Arkansas, and we've got all that information for you. It could take 30 seconds, just a one sentence, three sentence email to say, I'm an EFA family, I'm concerned about this. Or even if you're not, even if you're just an Arkansan that believes education freedom should actually mean education freedom and that state government shouldn't be micromanaging education freedom families, we encourage you to put your 2 cents in and get your comment in before next week, December 16th.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really agree with the fact that, I mean, the whole premise of this is putting the parents back in control of what goes on in their child's education, and giving them some financial help to do that. And so, yeah, by saying, hey, here's one thing you can't spend it on. It kind of it almost opens a Pandora's box that, well, now you can't spend it on this either. And, you can't spend it on that also. And so, I mean, you just don't, I think you don't want to go down that road. And so make sure you go find Opportunity Arkansas's Twitter account, their Facebook page, any of their social media. It's going to have the email address. Like Nick said, it's very clunky, very big and clunky. And so use that email address to make these public comments to, either way, whatever
Toby,
you want to say. But, yes.
We barely touched on this, but when you think about this in the context of education spending in the whole state of Arkansas, taxpayers spend tens of millions of dollars every single year on sports-related expenses.
That's right.
For public schools.
Yep.
Tens of millions of dollars. So if the argument is, well, this isn't an educational purpose, or it shouldn't be used for this, it should be used for textbooks and tuition only, or whatever the argument is there, then we've got a much bigger problem that we've got to talk about, because we're talking about a small, tiny fraction of the program spending, the education freedom spending, that goes to team-related sports. But it should be there for families that need it if that's what they decide is best for them and their kids. Almost all of these sports-related activities have an educational benefit. There's a reason why taxpayers have been fine and policymakers have been fine with public schools doing this, because it's good for kids. Team-related sports, getting kids physically engaged, the team-oriented aspects, the team sportsmanship that comes from that. There's a long list of benefits that are good for Arkansas kids and Arkansas families. We should not have a double standard, a different standard for public schools than we have for private schools when it comes to this issue.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. As we're talking with Nick Horton, the founder and CEO of Opportunity Arkansas. Nick, a question just came up to me the other day from somebody here in the office. They said, when can you start submitting applications for EFA funds for the next school year? Does that open like at the first of the year when we hit January, or do you know when that becomes open that you can start submitting an application for next year's EFA funds, next school years?
Well, unfortunately, that was one of the steps backwards that was taken in the legislative session last year with SB 625 that we've talked about at length here on the show.
Yeah.
So it used to be pretty wide open and folks could just apply throughout the year, more or less. And now the Department of Education has been given authority through that legislation to create a pretty tight enrollment window. They've got some leeway, from what I understand. The final version of the bill, passed on the very last day of legislative session, so it got amended several times. But I believe, unfortunately, the short answer is no. They've created some really limited enrollment periods, and I don't believe, I'd have to double check this, so don't quote me on this.
Sure.
But I don't believe that folks will be able to re-enroll until late this school year, so April, May, going into summer, sometime in anticipation of next school year.
Okay,
that's right.
All right, well, we'll keep up on that. We'll get that information out as we get close to it. I saw an interesting thing going on with Opportunity Arkansas. The policy director, Jay Robertson. Nice picture on the Twitter account there. I believe it's on some of the other social media pages as well. Running a marathon, the St. Jude Memphis Marathon, which great cause, by the way. Says he's running in memory of his Uncle Tim, so that's a great thing to be doing for his family and also just for St. Jude's in general. But do we know what type of time? This is a long race. I mean, running, what is this, 26 miles, Nick? And then do we know what type of time he puts up? I mean, for me, it would be like day and a half, maybe 2 days. That would be my time.
26.2 miles, I believe, is the official distance, and I want to say he was right around 6 hours, 5 hours and 56 minutes, something like that was his time.
Incredible.
So, I had this thought the night before the race. I was like, gosh, we should have all gone up there and stood on the sidelines and cheered him on. This was a big deal, and he was training for this for months. He raised close to $5,000 for St. Jude's, and we're all so proud of him.
That's awesome.
And then the thought crossed my mind. I was like, gosh, I'm going to have to go up there and stand there for 5 hours in the cold and watch people run. I couldn't even stand there for 5 hours and watch a marathon, much less run a marathon. I mean, so it just makes it even more impressive what he was able to do. And yeah, we're all really, really proud and excited for him. It was a huge
Nick, I'm schooled in the watching of marathons, and especially if you know somebody that's in it. It's very simple. You just go to one spot, and I usually pick towards the start of the race. You go to one spot, you find your person, you make sure they see you. You scream, you yell, "Hey, Jay, I'm right here. Hey, good job, buddy," and then you're gone. So you take off. They just passed you. They're not going to see you again. Yeah. Go see them 5 hours later, 6 hours later at the finish line.
Go have some barbecue in Memphis and then come back to the finish line.
That's right.
5 hours later.
That is proper marathon watching. So you don't stay there the whole 6 hours.
You're more experienced at that than I am. But
I'm a good watcher. I'm a good spectator.
Yeah, the thought of even watching it was exhausting to me, and it just makes it even more impressive what he was able to do. So,
it is impressive.
Super proud of him.
It is. Nick, unfortunately, we've run out of time. What I want to get into, though, when you're going to be back with us next week, we've got to start talking a little bit about 2026 in terms of Opportunity Arkansas. I want to start hearing a little bit about what some of the plans are for next year, what some of the issues are that the organization plans to take on as we get into the new year, and just kind of start prepping for that. And so wanted to dig into some of that next week with kind of a preview of what's to come with Opportunity Arkansas.
I will warn you now, we could probably spend the entire next week segment on that because there's a lot that's going to be happening in 2026, a lot of really good, important stuff, and a lot I'm excited to share. So I'm awesome. Looking forward to that.
No, we're looking forward to that as well. We always appreciate you stopping by. I hope you have a good rest of the week, and we'll talk again next Wednesday.
Okay. Thanks, brother.